And it wasn't uncommon to see a Volkswagen Rabbit or 5 or 6 of us under 14 piled in there with guns driving around trying to find some deer. You know, if they're watching it live, I'm sorry, I'm sitting in my garage office in my underwear. Actually, no, I got some pants on, just no shoes. If you want to have your ego crushed, just go read comments of what people say about you on, in a public platform. Oh my gosh, my feet were just destroyed. And I don't think that they've healed yet to this day. Just because the name of the show is Solo Hunter and the brand is Solo Hunter and my Instagram tag is Solo Hunter, it doesn't mean that I'm a loner and have to be alone all the time. Whatever I need to take in, that's how much it weighs. I have no idea. I've never weighed my pack once. I think sometimes people get caught up in trying to produce a film and not just document the adventure. And that's what I'm all about, is documenting what I'm doing and then trying to throw a little bit of cinematography into it. Hey guys, this is Tim Burnett with Solo Hunter, and you're listening to Living Country in the City with Sam, episode number 47.
Y'all ready for your dose of flyover state spirit? Straight from the concrete jungle? Well, put down your latte and pull on your boots. It's time for Living Country in the City.
Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in for episode 47 of Living Country in the City. Now, I've got an awesome episode lined up for y'all, but before we get started, I just wanted to say that running Living Country in the City has become my foremost passion. You know, it's hard to believe how much it's grown since early this year when, I wasn't even sure I'd make it much past the second episode. And that's really because of all y'all that have subscribed, listened week after week, and really shared this with your friends. And now, the podcast will always remain free to anyone that wants to listen, but, with this growth also comes additional expenses, and whether that's for hosting, editing, gear, and this really limits how much I'm able to do for y'all. Now, if you're a fan of the podcast and want to see it grow even more, I'd appreciate it if y'all took a moment to check out my support page at livingcountryinthecity.com/support. Now, that page details out a bunch of ways that y'all can lend a hand and really be part of Living Country in the City. Whether that's simple things like subscribing to my channels or shopping using my affiliate links and discount codes, or even more direct financial support through my Patreon page, which also gets you all some pretty sweet rewards. So head on over to livingcountryinthecity.com/support and check those out. And while you're there, make sure you head on over to my supporters wall where you can see some of the awesome people that have already started chipping in. All right, now, getting to it. After my, let's face it, mess of a solo backcountry hunt, I figured that I needed to get some serious tips about facing the backcountry alone. So I figured I'd reach out to the solo hunter himself, Tim Burnett. Tim, thanks for hopping on the show with me today.
Hey, no problem. So you're looking for tips on how to cope with having a disastrous elk hunt? Is that why you contacted me? Because getting tips on how to not have a disastrous elk hunt, I don't know, you should have called Corey or somebody.
Well, I tried talking with Corey beforehand, and I got some tips with him, and I managed to do everything but what he said, I'm sure.
Right. No, if you listen to what Corey says, you just walk around the woods blowing your bugle tube as hard as you can everywhere, right? No.
That's how it works, right?
He's got it dialed. He's got it figured out.
The elk magically appear wherever you blow your bugle tube. It's kind of like rubbing a magic genie's lantern, right?
Yeah, that's what everybody would like to think that elk hunting is just go out and blow your tube and call in an elk. Sometimes that's how it is, but not in my experience very often.
Well, I definitely learned a very hard lesson this year with that. Ended up, I went out right during that kind of what was supposed to be that peak rut, and when it had been like in the 70s and 80s the whole time, and so I'm like, I'm gonna go way up high.
Yeah, I was going to say that week that it was the peak rut, that's also when it was the peak rain and crappy weather, too.
Yeah, I suddenly walked into a fantastic snowstorm and got to hike through several feet of snow and realized that all the elk had gone further, got a lot lower down.
Where'd you go? Which part of the state did you head to?
I went into, now I'm blanking on the unit,
You don't have to drop names if you don't want. I'm just curious which general area.
Oh, I don't have any honey holes or anything. I think it was Unit 29. It was not all the way on the Montana border, but it was right outside of like Lador.
Lador. Yeah, we used to play those guys in high school sports when they had enough boys in their school to have an actual basketball team. We'd travel out to Lador. There's some good country over there.
Oh yeah, I managed to find some of the worst of it. I had a buddy that used to work pretty deep back in there, and he ended up having to come. I tore the meniscus in both of my knees on that trip, and he ended up having to come in. I sent him a text through my Delorme, and he came in and packed me out on his horses. Great guy. But yeah, he told me, he's like, I saw you were going in there, and he's like, I didn't want to totally talk you out of going there, but it was also, I just knew how bad it was. So
yeah. No, that area, I've hunted that area a little farther south than 29. So I think it was, what was that 30 or 31? There's a late muzzleloader elk hunt in there. Crap, I'm terrible. I can't even remember which unit it was, but it was just right outside of Ledore there.
I think 30 is right on the Montana border on the other side of Ledore.
So you're hunting the west side.
Yeah, but that was a bit of a trial for a first ever backcountry hunt.
Yeah, man, there's easier elk to be had than over there, that's for sure.
Yeah, but who wants an easy elk?
Right? I do sometimes. Yeah.
I kind of do right now myself.
No, that country over there, it's just, there's something about it. I mean, it's really cool country, and you never know what you're going to get into, whether it's wolves or grizzlies or elk or deer. I mean, it's kind of a cool place over there.
Yeah, I definitely, I woke up every morning. I was camping just on the edge of this meadow, kind of right behind the tree line, and I woke up every morning and there was quite a few wolf tracks through that meadow every morning, and I found a couple of elk parts, just no whole elk. But so why don't you, for my guests that maybe aren't as familiar with Solo Hunter, maybe give me some background, one on just how you got your start in hunting, what first got you into the outdoors, and then also maybe kind of what you're doing now.
Okay. Yeah. So, I just like everybody else, as a kid, you start hunting, and how we get into it might be a little bit different, but I was introduced to hunting not by my dad, but by a guy that moved into the valley, a retired military guy, Carl Van Dusen. He kind of introduced my brothers and I into archery at first. I mean, we started bow hunting or shooting bows and stuff before even the thought of gun hunting. And so the first year that I hunted when I was 12, I actually was bow hunting, didn't even gun hunt until I was 13. So he kind of got us into it just because his son was a little bit too young, and then my dad was a little bit too busy, and we kind of hit it off with Carl. He had a really fast car, and so it was a perfect fit for us young kids. And through my early teenage years, Carl and then my uncle, saw that we had some interest in it, and he was an avid bow hunter, so he kind of took us on a few trips when we were young and just hunted. And then I realized too that it was in the grown-up world, they have to go to work, they have jobs, so they can't necessarily just drop everything and go hunting. And sometimes they have honeydews to do on Saturdays, so my brothers and I would end up going out by ourselves or with our buddies. I mean, it wasn't uncommon to see a Volkswagen Rabbit or a red Ford Courier from my buddy, and 5 or 6 of us under 14 piled in there with guns, driving around trying to find some deer. Just growing up very rural in that Lost River Valley, that was just kind of typical, kind of common. And we lived right next to a massive tract of BLM land, and that butted up against a bunch of national forests. So you could literally walk out our back door and go for miles and miles and just hunt. And so that's kind of what we did. I remember Carl, he had this bookcase full of VHS tapes, all of hunting videos. And there was a bunch of, Dwight Shue and Larry D. Jones, Wayne Carlton. I mean, just all the old awesome dudes when hunting was cool. All of these VHS tapes, and my brothers and I just consumed those. And I can vividly remember sitting in Carl's basement when we were bringing in his tapes back. Probably they didn't work because we had worn them out. And I'm like, when I get big, I want to make hunting videos for a job. Like that's what I want to do for a living. So it really, for me, it started early. And right out of high school, I bought a video camera. It was one of those Sony Hi8 tape cameras. And I mean, at the time, I think that was like a $1,200 camera or something. So it was like, now for $1,200 you can get an awesome camera. And back then it was just like, that was a piece of crap. You know? And then just started filming and really, really always had a passion for it, I guess. It was more just something else to do out in the wild while I'm hunting. And then when there wasn't any hunting seasons going on, it gave me an excuse to get out there and chase the critters a little bit more. So
is it a weird thought now, thinking that, you know, there's probably kids out there that are going on YouTube or the Outdoor Channel and watching the stuff you're putting out and thinking those exact same things, you know, they're going through those videos time after time and thinking like, oh man, you know, I want to be just like Tim. I want to go out and film my hunts and do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you get the comments and the questions and the emails and that's awesome to be able to interact and everything. But I've never really thought of it as, you know, hey, I'm an influencer. I'm influencing somebody, how they can get into the outdoors. And I know that I do, and I'm glad, for sure. But for me, it's always been, that's what I personally wanted to do. And so in order to do that, you've got to be able to monetize it and whatever else. And so to do that, you've got to share it. And that's just kind of, you call it popularity or whatever else. It is kind of cool to see people liking your stuff. And then there's people that don't like your stuff. You know, there's people that like the types of hunts you go on, and there's people that don't, you know. But when I get an email or a message or something like that of asking questions, and I take the time to respond to it, and just seeing the gratitude of their response back, saying thank you so much for replying to this email. I've sent emails off to a half a dozen different guys, and you're the only one that's responded, you know. And I know that's changing now. There's a lot of my associates and my peers in the industry that work really hard to reply to emails and reply to questions and comments, because that's exactly where we were, you know, a long time ago. The difference was we didn't really have the social media or the digital platforms that gave us access to these guys. You know, our only access to any of these people was at trade shows or consumer shows and different things that we would go to as kids. And if we were lucky, we would be able to ask them some questions or even meet them maybe. I mean, I remember the first time I went to a show in Salt Lake, I think I was 14 maybe, with the scouts who went down there. And it was what the Hunt Expo is now, but it wasn't the Hunt Expo then. I don't know what it was, ISE show or something. And I remember I was able to meet was Larry D. Jones. I met Wayne Carlton. Jim Zumbo was there. Just the famous Chuck Adams was there. You know, I was able to meet all these guys and get pictures with them. And you know, I'm a kid. I don't know what questions I'm asking them. And there was just all of us boys there, just enamored with these heroes of ours. But that was our access to them. And so it kind of, in a way, it made them a little bit more special in my mind than what we or other people within the industry might be today, because there's a lot more people that are influencing on the digital world, and everybody's a lot more accessible. You know, even my heroes that I have today, they're more accessible. I can send somebody an email, or I can make a comment on a post, or interact with these men. And, you know, and that's just something that we couldn't do as a kid. So it's really kind of a neat time for those growing up in it now, you know.
It's very interesting because, I mean, you know, with what I do is I'm so new at this. Really, most of the contacts I've made have been through doing this podcast and through introductions from guests to other guests, and I've noticed it's really, I mean, you know, a lot of people, you know, with how Instagram works and stuff like that, you just don't get messages right away, but it's just the amount of people that reply back. I still get excited every time someone writes me back and says, you know, hey, yeah, totally, I'd be willing to hop on. And,
right.
But I can only imagine, you know, I I get it. I get enough messages that I have trouble responding to them, and I have a very loyal but a teeny little following compared to what a lot of you guys have, and so I can only imagine the influx and the time it takes to really get back to those people. And
yeah, it depends. I mean, there's a lot of, I had this conversation with Brian Call, Gritty Bowman. He and I went on a hunt last week in Oklahoma, and we had a week together, just one-on-one, to just ask questions and just kind of learn from each other and problem solve and plan and everything. And like, that's one of the things that I asked him. I'm like, dude, how many emails and questions do you really get? Because certain people like Brian, they open themselves up to that. Like they're asking for the input, or they're very controversial. So they're getting a lot of messages and everything. And I think there's guys like Remy and I, we're not, maybe not as approachable, or don't open ourselves up for that. So we get don't get me wrong, I get a ton of messages and emails and everything, but it's not near what other people are saying they're getting, or anything like that. I guess what I'm saying is certain platforms lead themselves well to being approachable, and, people wanting to contact them because they've actually made themselves a bit available more often. But some of us don't, make ourselves available as much, I suppose. I don't know if that's exactly what I was trying to say, but
Well, and I can imagine too, there's a lot of different types of messages that come in, and if not every single one's going to require an in-depth answer either. Sometimes it's just people saying, "Hey, I love what you're doing, keep it up," or "Hey, stop killing animals, I hope you burn in hell."
Yeah. Well, it's more like if you're talking about gear and how you use it and everything else, then that in a way is opening yourself up to a lot of questions and to a lot of input and all that. Well, how do you do this and this and this, and that just leads into more, which is great. And that's not something that I've really wanted to position myself as is the gear guru, or this is what I use, so you should use it. It's more just representing hunting in a way that I feel like hunting should be represented, and representing the brands that I'm partnered with. And so that tends to lead to a little bit more of a passive audience, someone that enjoys the entertainment, enjoys the conservation aspect of it, and the platform that I'm on, but not necessarily the interactive type of an audience, which that fits me personally. My personality is not necessarily I don't want to be an educator and be out there too much.
Well, I think I remember hearing you say somewhere, I don't know if it was on a video, you were talking about, I don't know if I even want to call it like your social anxiety, but just in large groups of people, especially like at expos and stuff like that.
I'm notorious for flying into Indianapolis or the SHOT Show or Salt Lake and being there for a couple of hours and then flying back home. I don't do large groups very well, and which is ironic, because when I first got in, as you're getting in the industry, like, you're learning and you're changing, you're evolving. I've done some stupid things and said some stupid things, and I think we all have. But at one time I got contacted by ISC to do speaking and do seminars at a bunch of their Western locations. I'm like, yeah, sweet, that'd be awesome. I can make a little bit of money. I can meet a lot of people. Man, I did that for 1 year. I think I did 2 or 3 shows, and I was like, oh no, there is no way I can do this, man. This is not me. I'm okay in a podcast setting, or in a small question and answer setting, or just a round table. But you put me in front of a group of people that are actually paying attention to what you're saying, and what you're saying, what I feel like what I'm saying is not that big of a deal. It's like, oh God, it gave me anxiety so bad.
So I shouldn't tell you there's like 2,000 people watching this live.
If they're watching it live, I'm sorry. I'm sitting in my garage office in my underwear. Actually, no, I got some pants on, just no shoes and a hoodie. No, if they're watching it live, it is what it is.
Yeah. No, I'm just messing. I don't know. I think the last even Instagram live I did, I had 16 people on, and that was like super exciting for me.
Yeah, live scares me because I'm prone to I don't know, not say stupid stuff, but I don't know. I like to be edited a little bit, be pulled back and reined in a little bit. Because if you get me on a true tantrum, which Brian got, he's supposed to send me the proofs of those podcasts. We did 4 different podcasts this week that we're going to publish on both of our platforms, and I came on unplugged on one of them. We weren't yelling back and forth, but we were kind of like our voices were definitely raised. So it was fun, but I like to be in a more packaged situation, I guess.
I know exactly what you mean. My
People look a lot better when you can cut out the bad parts.
Oh man, let's just say these are heavily edited.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I did a podcast with Jay Scott, and I shot him over the audio. I didn't realize he wanted to release it, and he released the raw audio, and I was.
Oh, you're kidding!
And fortunately, it was one of the better podcasts I did. I actually didn't sound like a total jackass.
No.
But yeah, he released the full audio, and I was just horrified. I was like, no.
I think the thing that I worry about not worry about, but so Joel's kind of my brand manager. He is my brand manager. He does a lot of the social media or the newsletter marketing and campaigns, the Facebook ads, all that kind of thing. Helps me out with a lot of that. And that's like in every meeting that we have, that's my biggest concern. I'm like, I don't care if what we're doing, I don't care if there's a shock factor to it and we can get more people to like it. If there's a chance that there's more people that don't like it, I don't want to do it, because I don't handle negativity very well. And I guess that's another reason why I like to be edited and I don't like to get out there socially and even going through YouTube comments and all that. It's like, oh man, if you want to have a ball buster and have your ego crushed, just go read comments of what people say about you on in a public platform. So I'm really cautious that I want to piss off the fewest number of people possible, I guess. It's kind of what I'm trying to get to.
I'm with you.
And it's sometimes it's not even a matter of just pissing people off. It's just a matter of some people just don't like your voice. Some people don't like your personality. They don't like the video that you've done or whatever else. And so I'm just a little bit more guarded than I used to be. I used to be like carefree, who cares, whatever, throw it out there. But
no, I'm with you. I definitely, I just don't like being at odds with people.
Sure.
One way or the other. It's one thing, if you have some crazy person from like Thailand coming in and yelling at you for killing an animal or whatever. Like that doesn't bother me so much, but yeah, I just don't like being at odds with people. I mean, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy most of the time.
Right. You're in the industry now, you're out there and you're putting yourself out there. And, that's the coolest thing about social media and the digital world that we live in is it gives everyone an opportunity to create a platform and create something of their dreams, to put their lives out there and to showcase them and potentially build a revenue generating base that they might be able to live off of, or a business or a brand, or just do it for fun. But that's really cool that we have that ability. The downside to it is I think that because there is that separation, I could be calling you a dirty SOB, blah, 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 and just really ripping you out, knowing that I'm sitting here and you can't touch me, And so it kind of gives people that false sense of security that they can say and do things that they wouldn't say if they were sitting in the same room with you, and that's the downside to it. But I kind of think that the good outweighs the bad, definitely.
I would definitely agree with that. A little bit earlier, you were talking about some of your heroes in the industry. Who are some people that you think are really doing great stuff in the hunting industry right now that you really admire?
Right now, I'm a Remy fan. I always have been. That's part of why we kind of partnered up to begin with. He's a good dude. There's a lot of people like Cameron Haynes that I feel like do things for the hunting industry that no one else really could, just because of his personality type and his approach and how he does it. And it's too bad because the guy probably catches more flack than anybody in the industry, but he really is a good spokesperson for the majority of the hunting industry. Randy Newberg, how can you not love Randy Newberg, whether you like his delivery or not, or like whatever, the fact that he's like me and comes home empty-handed on certain hunts, and the public land hunter, and he's got his platform and he's sticking to it, and he is as good of a spokesperson and representative of what I feel like hunting should be that there is out there. Let's see. There's a pile of them. Jim Shockey is, he's in my opinion he's kind of like legend. He's kind of the king, I guess, of someone that you really can't find any fault with Jim, in my opinion, from his public appearance. Personally, whatever, I don't know. I've only met him a couple of times, and he didn't know who I was, so I kind of took offense to that a little bit. No. But he's definitely an icon in the industry. And there's a lot of people that I look up to in the business world that aren't necessarily in the celebrity status, but people that just really changed industries, like Rocky Jacobson and Wayne Carlton, Will Primos. They're all the call guys, but at the time when I was growing up, the call guys were the ones that were making the videos. And so they're the ones that we were watching. Larry D. Jones. Those guys are still iconic in my mind. They're still doing good things. They just don't have to be out there constantly promoting themselves and doing what we're doing to make a living. They've done that. They've been there and done that. So for those of us that are creating content and putting it out there, it's a different. There's so many of them. Gosh, you could look at photographers that I'm just enamored with. Darren Epp, Tony Bynum, John Hafner. There's all these guys that are just so good in different niches of what they do,
No, I always, that's one of my favorite questions, because I always invariably get a few names that I either don't follow or don't know about that I can go in and, add to my list of people that I can enjoy and be inspired by on a daily basis as I see the stuff they're putting out, or get to look up older stuff that maybe they already have put out. And, because I definitely didn't grow up in this. And so a lot of the guys over this year, like I've been learning about Larry Jones and Wayne Carlton and all these guys, and I've been going back and, so much of their old content. That's the other awesome thing about the age we live in now. So much of this old content, on VHS tapes that would just be normally sitting in someone's basement, and unless you just happen to know someone that had it, you would never get access to. It's now up on, people have posted them up on YouTube,
right,
and stuff like that. And so I've gotten an awesome chance to go see some of this old content. I really enjoy doing that, and got to meet Rocky at the ISE show in Salt Lake this year, and had him. There's a video. I was barely able to get a sound out of an elk call. I was just learning at the time, and I got a chance to sit down with him, and he gave me some tips. And I didn't really know who he was at the time. He was just this guy that was totally offering to help me out. I'm like, okay, cool. Some guy wants to. And
legend.
Oh man, it was awesome. There's a video I think on my Instagram somewhere of him. I could get the sounds going, but I couldn't get any power behind them. And so you show me how to use my diaphragm. He's like, okay, start making a sound. And he just grabs my stomach and pushes on my diaphragm. And I just belt out this this really loud cow call. And it's just a great video. But
yeah, that's cool. I'll look for it.
But yeah, no, it's there's a lot of amazing people that I just, I want to learn about, and I want to make sure I get to share with other folks like myself that just didn't grow up with that. So I love asking that question.
Well, the thing of it is like you could just go through your news feed on Instagram, and you're going to come across somebody that you don't know who they are, and you're going to be like, wow, this person amazes me. Look at their photos, look at their adventures that they're going on. So, I get a lot more inspiration when I search the hashtag solo hunters or solo HNTR or solo hunt just because that's kind of what I'm into. But you go and search certain hashtags and not necessarily look at the names. Like I have a bad habit. I scroll through my feed so fast. I'm just looking at photos and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. I like it. And then I'll read the comments, and then I'll look and see who wrote it or who posted it. And I'm like, huh, never really been a big fan of that guy, but I like that. That was awesome. So I really try not to pay attention to the names, but there are so many people that are not public figures or not hunting celebrities by any stretch, but are just so inspirational and doing things that I dream of, adventures that I want to go on. And here this guy might be a policeman or whatever and just happens to be pretty darn good with the camera and goes on some awesome hunts, or he's a road grade operator and lives in awesome big buck country, takes some killer photos because he's out there all the time and is just a cool, regular dude. Those are the type of people that really inspire me most, because those of us that are quote unquote public figures or celebrities or whatever the crap you want to call it, we oftentimes are tainted by, partner demands or by our own egos or whatever it might be. So sometimes our content isn't as pure and innocent as those that I like to follow, or those that aren't feeling like they have as many eyeballs on them. You know what I mean? Again, I probably didn't say that very well, but
no, I definitely get what you're getting at, and it's, when I first started out, I would look at, okay, who do I want to follow? Who's going to have the good content? Oh, I better follow these guys that have a ton of followers because they're going to have the best content and this and that.
Not always.
I learned quickly that that's not always the case. I mean, and to some extent, there's a reason these people have a ton of followers, and a lot of the time it's because they put out good content. But I've recently just I'll see I'll if I see a photo or a repost or something, I'll always click and see who's tagged, and I'll kind of go a few levels deep and find, like you said, some of these people that it may just be average Joe and really just enjoying what they're doing and not really trying to gain this massive following or whatever. And so, you may never heard of them if I didn't do a little digging.
Yeah, there's just a lot of good content out there. That's what's really cool about Instagram specifically, is kind of what I'm talking about. Like I like Instagram just because it's very visual, and yet sometimes what people write is very impactful, and you get a full mix. Like, you're changing the channel so fast, you're watching a lot of different things and seeing a lot of different inspirational people and a lot of different stupid people too. And that's the same thing. Somebody goes through my feed, they're like inspirational, stupid, inspirational, stupid, inspirational. So it's just kind of, you get this whole mix of people's lives, but it's also such a small glimmer into people's lives too, but it's neat that we have this platform to be able to share, because there's a lot that can be learned for the new beginner coming into the hunting industry. A lot to be learned.
Well, it definitely makes it a lot more accessible for someone like me that, has to buy a plane ticket and a hotel room to get to a lot of these expos, that, just I've got to go a bit further out to get access to a lot of things or a lot of information or people that I wouldn't normally be able to talk to. It's opened that world up and allowed me to be inspired and learn but speaking of that, talk to you. I know how much you love talking about yourself.
Yeah.
So what your whole brand, Solo Hunter. That's, to some extent, that makes a bit of a statement in and of itself to really center your brand around that. I mean, what is it why Solo Hunter? What is it about that, that solo hunting that really calls to you? Why, what do you specifically really love about it?
I never intended there to be a brand behind it at all. When it came about, that's the footage that I had. That's the type of hunting that I was doing. And that was just the name that we settled on, was Solo Hunter, and it worked out perfect because those were the hunts that I had at the time when the opportunity to have the TV show came about. So the thoughts of the brand and everything else kind of came after the fact. I mean, it was just was just I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to have my show and produce my content. And there was other people that I found like Remy and, Fred Waymeyer and some of these others that were really good at it at the time. And so that's what we did. The brand really just kind of evolved later. And to this day, when people talk about brands, Brian and I had a conversation about it, and people ask us all the time, about brands. I don't know what a brand is really. It's when I think of brand, I think of hats and t-shirts, or a product line. But really, there's a lot of different things of what a brand is, a lot of different categories. And in a sense now, there's a lot of personalities that are brands, I suppose, if you want to look at it that way. But it just kind of fit my lifestyle. I've always liked the solace of being alone, out in the outdoors. Call it depression, call it whatever you might. It's just that's what I did. And so it kind of was a natural fit into my hunting style. And I learned later on that there's a lot of people that are out there hunting by themselves. And the other part of it that really surprised me that took off was the self-filming part of it. The amount of people that are, I guess, fans of what I do based on the fact that you're self-filming your hunts at the same time, and really the self-filming is the only way that you can show your hunt. If you weren't filming it by yourself, then you're not by yourself, if you have a cameraman or any of that kind of thing. So that kind of blended together and was a whole interesting byproduct that helped launch and grow the popularity of it as well, because there's just as many people interested in the filming side of it as there is the hunting adventure side of it.
So what benefits would you see, like over hunting with partners? What benefits do you see in solo hunting that you specifically experience?
Well, there's personal benefits of just being in nature alone, just absorbing everything into you and not having any distractions or anything like that from anyone else. And then sometimes you're just a more effective hunter when there's less movement, less smell, less negotiations or less arguments of which ridge to climb or any of that. Like, you can just become a more efficient machine. Now, if you could just get rid of the cameras and everything, that to me would be the ultimate. Like, if I could just do what I do and not have to be filming the hunt, like, that would be exactly what I personally would want to do at this point in my life. But I don't have the business side of it or the brand side of it without that. So there's definitely advantages there. The disadvantages is you don't have that support system. If you're not the type of personality that can stick through a tough situation, or that is very indecisive, maybe not quite as experienced in the wild as what you will be in 5 or 10 years, then it's good to have that support system and that buddy. And of course, when you get that elk on the ground, man, it's so much nicer to have some friends with you than when you're by yourself. But I think it's good to have a good mix. I mean, I have a really good mix of solo hunting and hunting with friends and with my family. It's just because that's my lifestyle. What you guys see is dominantly the solo hunting stuff, because that's what the TV show is and the brand. What you don't see a lot of times is the fishing trips and the coyote killing trips with my boy and different things that I just don't make publicly, and that just don't fit with the brand. And so if it's going to create any brand confusion or anything, I try to pull that out of it, because I've experienced early on, with Solo Hunter, it's like, just because the name of the show is Solo Hunter and the brand is Solo Hunter and my Instagram tag is Solo Hunter, it doesn't mean that I'm a loner and have to be alone all the time. But I found that I was constantly getting people, well, who's taking the pictures? Well, who's doing this or who's doing that? Or if you've got a friend with you, how can you be Solo Hunter? And it's like, really? I mean, come on, man. I'm like, okay, well, your handle's Whiskey Dick. Do you really have a Whiskey Dick? I'm like, give me a break. So it's just funny, the things that people will do, like I say, on social media that they would never do if they were in the same room with you. I mean, they'd be shaking your hands and having fun and joking with you. But so I guess to answer your question the short way, Solo Hunter is very, very limiting, and it puts you in a pigeonhole because of the name Solo is really, really definitive. But at the same time, I'm getting older, and I learned to deal with the crap a little bit easier. So it's just going to continue to be a part of my lifestyle, whether it's solo or not.
That's That's really funny. Like, you actually get people to get really butthurt
Oh, dude.
if you aren't completely by yourself at any given moment.
I'm in Alaska doing my Alaska moose hunt, and I say right at the very beginning, I'm here with my friend Ted, who we drew the tag together, and I didn't say that he chose not to be on camera, but I probably should have. But I got ripped to shreds. You're not alone, blah 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 blah. I'm 90 miles upriver in the middle of Alaska. If somebody does that alone, they're studs, and there are people that do, but that's just not the way the trip went down. So I don't know. It's fine. You can tell I take offense to some of it. I mean, how can you not? But at the same time, it's just like, give me a break. I mean, I had a guy on YouTube. I finally had to just delete him because he was going through every video and just basically calling me an idiot. You could tell he was a hunter. He wasn't an anti-hunter. He's definitely a hunter. And he's like, oh, you did this or you did that. Come on, don't lie. We know you did this. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure I gutted the animal that night and then took pictures the next morning. I'm pretty sure I was there. All you're seeing is 20 minutes of this 6-week experience, So just those types of things that if someone just has it in their mind that they want to be negative and try to ruin somebody's day, they can probably do it, and it's going to ruin my half a day maybe, but it's not going to ruin my whole day.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I maybe focus a little bit more than I should sometimes on that stuff and let it creep around in the back of my head for a bit longer than it should, rather than just either deleting it or ignoring it and moving on. But
there's so much positivity. There's so many things to look at and to watch and experience. And I watch a video, somebody's so proud to release a film, and they release the film. And of course, as a producer and somebody that's run a production company for years, I can see the flaws and the faults in the film. But it's a dang good film. He did a good job, he worked hard and he's young, and eventually he's going to crank out some polished stuff, but I'm not going to be the guy that goes on there and say your voice sucks or your music is terrible or, why didn't you kill a bigger bull? It's like, give me a break, man. So you just have to be happy for everybody. And I think that I'm genuinely happy for everybody that's out there.
No, that's awesome. That's a good attitude to have. And, it's, if nothing else, man, okay, yeah, you see flaws in something someone's doing. Hey, how about instead of being a dick, you actually offer to help them out or something,
Just click the like button, say good work, and move on, man. I mean, there's so much more that can be done in the hunting industry with positivity than with negativity. And that's really where we need to be as a society, really, not just in the hunting industry. If we could all just scroll past something or just, I don't know, man, just be positive and think about the other person. These are real people. Those hashtags, these names, these monikers or whatever you might want to call them, Brax Outdoors, Backcountry Warrior, Angry Mountain Productions, Shannon Hunt Fit, Hunt Mountains. I'm just going through the Instagram newsfeed. I'm like, these are real people, with real families and real lives and real feelings, and real goals, and real ambitions. Who the hell are we to try to ruin somebody's day or call somebody out because we don't like the picture that they posted? I mean, man, it's just crazy to me, Be happy for what that person is happy about, because that person obviously wouldn't have posted that if they weren't happy about it, So it's just, you just got to be better as a society, better as a people.
Definitely words to live by. So would you say, say this was back in this last spring, I hadn't struggled my way through Idaho yet, and I told you, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of a crazy person, and I'm going on my first backcountry hunt. I'm doing some DIY solo elk trip. If somebody said they're doing their first solo trip, what advice might you have for that person?
Just go have fun. Know your limits, but know that you also have the ability to stretch past those limits. And, in your case, it's a little bit different. You've got a long ways to go to get back home, but sometimes sometimes it's okay to just go home for a few days and then head back out, or to head back into town and have yourself a nice bowl of soup and get recharged, sleep in the back of your truck, and then head back out. I guess people look at that as a fault that I might have, but I look at it as, that's what keeps me going. That's what will keep me going when I'm 80, is the fact that I know when to slow down a little bit and can actually enjoy other things in life than to just kill myself in the mountains. So I'd say whatever you do what you're going to enjoy, but be willing to push yourself. And on an elk hunt, I mean, you got to find the elk first. Once you find the elk, then it's just be cautious not to bump them out of the canyon. Because if you let the elk just be elk, you could have a week's worth of just phenomenal hunting in one little draw, because those elk they're gonna kind of hang out in there, But once you start pushing too hard or getting too aggressive or whatever else, you push them into a different part of the country. Then you got to refine them again, and so.
Well, it's an interesting point you make, because people, I think, will give you some crap for going back into town for a couple of days or a day, whatever that is. And I mean, but if you look at it, it's like, okay, if going back into town lets you spend, for one day, lets you spend a good 9-10 days in the field, versus not going into town and maybe you only get 4 or 5.
Right.
What's better? Okay, yeah, you may have stuck it out for a few extra days, but all in all, your hunting time's cut in half.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I had not committed myself so heavily to where I was, and I could have maybe gone into town for one of those days and rested and then come back out with a vengeance. But live and learn.
Well, backcountry hunts are different. You're really kind of vested into that space, but really to be effective as a hunter, you got to stay mobile. You got to be able and willing to just move. I mean, there's a lot of times where I'll go back in after deer and backpack in, and I'm committed. I'm there for the week, and I don't see squat. And it's like, man, I just wasted my week. I should have pulled out and gone somewhere else, But that's also part of the experience. That's part of the fun too. So it's just, you just have to accept that it's your adventure and be totally and completely content with the end result.
All right, let's take a quick moment to hear a word from one of my partners. All right, y'all, so we know that there's countless box club offers out there catering to all different kinds of people and interests, from fishing to shaving, exercising, skincare, and whiskey. Just about anything you could think of. But none of them ever really appealed to me until I came across a newcomer to the arena, Bowhunter Box Club. Bowhunter Box Club is the only subscription box club service out there geared specifically for bow hunters. And I mean, who doesn't love getting a box packed full of awesome new bow hunting gear delivered directly to their doorstep every month? Now here's the deal. Each month they'll deliver a box filled with around $60 to $70 worth of awesome new products and gear for you to try out. Previous boxes have included gear such as broadheads, bino adapters, stands, gear hoists, and bow slings from companies like Vortex, Phone Scope, and Boning. This is quality gear that you've either been wanting to try out or really didn't know you needed. Now you can choose from a bunch of different subscription plans that'll fit your budget. You can go month to month or save even more by selecting a long-term prepaid subscription. On top of that, for a small annual fee, you can join their VIP Pass-Through Club. Pass-Through Club members get exclusive access to buy discounted bow hunting gear that won't fit in the monthly box. What's even better is you're entered into monthly giveaways for incredible bow hunting gear like a Matthews bow or a Vortex spotting scope package. They're even giving away hunts. Now the best part is you can get 10% off your first month of any subscription plan by using code COUNTRY10, and you can get $10 off the VIP Pass-Through Club membership by using code COUNTRYVIP. Get both of those codes and more discounts from awesome outdoor companies by visiting my partners page at livingcountryinthecity.com/partners. So, do you have any particular favorite hunts that somebody new getting into hunting could pull something out of as they're going into their first hunts?
I mean, as a Western hunter, yeah. I mean, it's all about archery mule deer. Hunt deer in August. That's, you get to see a lot of animals when their guard really isn't up as much. It's awesome. I mean, if you can get somebody in the elk woods during the peak of the rut, holy smokes! I mean, you're gonna either scare the crap out of them or you're gonna get them hooked if you can get them in the right areas. I'm an avid whitetail hunter. Like, I think that would be a perfect way to introduce a youngster into the hunting industry, or into hunting, excuse me, is just get him in a tree stand, or a ground blind, and just get him around these animals and just watch and interact. I mean, it was really cool in Oklahoma. I took my phone out and I FaceTimed my family because I knew that there was a time change. So I FaceTimed them, and like they're watching all the deer walk around my feet and stuff. And I mean, it was just really, really cool for them to experience that. So the main thing is somebody new getting into it, do something that you have a high probability of success, or at least a high probability of being able to see and be around animals, and then expand it from there. Because the more that you can be around animals and watch them and watch how they interact and react to different situations, the more you're going to learn about the animals. And then the same thing goes with the terrain and the countryside. The more time you spend in the mountains, or in the prairies, or wherever you're going to be hunting, the more familiar you're going to be with the wind changes and the directions and the thermals and all those kinds of things. So you have to take everything in its own category and approach it with a learning mind to learn as much as you can about that category. Animals, country, environment, weather patterns, whatever it might be, and just take the whole thing in and realize that there's more than just going hunting.
So if you could only hunt one animal for the rest of your life, what would be?
Oh, I don't know. Probably elk, I guess, or deer.
That's always
there's so many animals I've never hunted that I imagine I could probably get pretty absorbed into. But I honestly see myself when I get old is playing a lot of golf and shooting a crap load of whitetails. That's kind of how I see it. So.
All right. And so, also, like you said, there's a lot of animals you haven't hunted yet. What would be like your dream hunt? Tags, money, whatever, notwithstanding, just what would be the one hunt that you would love to go on more than anything else?
Yeah, I'll tell you the same thing I told the team Backcountry guys. It's like I want to go on a mountain goat, moose, mountain caribou, grizzly bear, Dall sheep, stone sheep combo hunt. That's what I want to do.
Oh, you know what? I put in for that tag, I think, that combo hunt.
Yeah. Well, there's more than one tag that you got to draw on that one. Yeah, you got to win the lottery. You got to have a rich uncle that decides that you're his favorite nephew, thinks you're really cool and wants to fund your efforts. So.
And then you got to have a month straight to hunt it.
Yeah, and I want to do it with specific outfitters. So yeah, because those hunts you can't do solo. You can't legally do them alone. So that's my dream hunt right there. There's a close one. The Lancasters do one that is a mountain goat, moose, mountain caribou combo, and I think you can throw in a grizzly or a black bear in there as well. But they've got that combo hunt. A buddy of mine went and did it several years ago. That'd just be a fun hunt,
That's definitely several of those. I never in my life thought I would be interested in hunting mountain goat or sheep. Just getting into it, I saw elk and I'm like, oh man, that's the thing for me. And mule deer, I'm like, those are pretty cool too. Maybe even some bear, but I never thought I would find myself like being interested in mountain goat or sheep. Yeah. And now all you people have infected me, and I'm obsessed with them now too.
I like a variety. I mean, there's certainly the hunts that I do every year that I will always do every year, but every once in a while I take a break. I mean, there was like a 4-year stretch there where I didn't hunt elk for like 3 or 4 years, because I just kind of got burned out. My area got burned out, and I might be there now. My area is a little bit burned out now, but it is what it is. But I like to do different things. I want to do a blacktail hunt and a coastal blacktail, and want to go to Alaska and do a Sitka blacktail up there. And, there's a lot of things that I want to do. Caribou, just tons of things. But at this point, I got a young family. My kids I got 2 daughters and 1 son. So there's a little bit of college and weddings to pay for. And, I'm going to be greedy in my old age. I want a lifestyle that will be fun when I retire. And so making some sacrifices now, but I'm also very blessed and can do a lot of hunts that, others might not be able to do. So I could definitely go on bigger and badder hunts if that was the priority, but it's really not my lifelong goal. It'd be kind of short-term gratification.
So, how old are the kids? Are they any of them old enough to start getting into hunting yet?
Yep. So Hudson he's my oldest. He's 13. He did his hunter safety and everything. We didn't draw any tags last year or this year. In Nevada, you have to draw a tag. And then the Dane Kid, he's so busy with football and basketball and baseball and everything else that getting him to take him to Idaho or to Oklahoma or somewhere with me where he can hunt, it just hasn't happened. I almost got him to go with me to Idaho, but he had some scout camp or something going on that he had to do. So they just get busier. When he was little, we lived in Oklahoma for a year, and he'd come with me out there and climb trees and hunt, and then move back to Idaho. And I mean, he was with me all the time until he got into kindergarten. Like, I'd take him everywhere. Then once he got in kindergarten, man, then it's like it just got busy. And he's gone on a few other hunts with me. He's been on the show a few times, but man, then once he got 10 or 12 and started getting into baseball and everything else, golly, he's not going to have any time until he's done with high school. So.
I definitely, a lot of the people I've talked with, I've heard that story. They're like, yeah, I grew up doing it with my dad, and then I got into high school and started doing baseball and football and didn't really do it. And then after college, I said, screw that, I'm going hunting again.
Well, what's funny, my younger brother, he quit football because he wanted to hunt, and the coaches were kind of dinks. And my other brother, Boyd, he played football. He had to have played football, but it was a sacrifice, man. Between chores and sports, you really only had a couple nights out of the week, or you had Saturdays. That was it, So much of our hunting was just one day hunts where it was just a ball buster, jump in the car and go. I mean, it was fun in high school. I wish I would have been my dad in high school. That's for sure.
Well, that's almost kind of similar to the problems I know a lot of people like myself deal with, where it's, you got the 9-to-5 job and you got only so many vacation days and weekends, and especially when you live in Los Angeles. I mean, we got blacktail and bear and pig not too far out of town, but
right.
Our deer season is so short. I'm lucky. We got a late season archery tag right around Los Angeles. I mean,
really?
Mountain lions have eaten most of the deer out here, but at least I can go chase them and pretend like I'm hunting.
You never know what you might get into.
Yeah. Well, and I'm gonna hopefully get into some trouble in Arizona. I'm trying. It's a 5-hour drive, 5-6 hour drive, depending on where I want to hunt, and so I'm hoping I can take some long weekends and hop in the car and just do a little no sleep trip there and back, and see if I can chase some muley or coos deer.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one thing a lot of people may not realize about my hunting is very rarely am I hunting anywhere closer than 8 or 10 hours from the house, just because you don't draw these Nevada tags all the time. So if you're out in Idaho or Utah or Montana, anywhere else, it's a jaunt for me. And that's another reason why some hunts are unsuccessful. You drive all day Monday, hunt Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, drive all day Friday, so a little tough to do it that way.
So, is there any essential gear, maybe a couple pieces? I know you don't want to be the gear expert, but maybe some stuff you use that as a solo hunter makes your life a lot easier when you're in the backcountry. So
sure. Maybe
just a couple of pieces of gear that you really rely on or you like.
Sure. So I'm an avid, passionate public land hunter. A lot of times the lines between public and private are blurred. So Onyx maps, I know I'm sponsored by them, but I was using them for 3 or 4 years before I even got a sponsorship with them. So I have to have my maps. Before it was Onyx, it was my BLM maps that I bought at the BLM office that showed, the different lands. So mapping is definitely key. you got to run a good pack. You're living out of your pack. And I, for one, have gone through so many different brands of packs and different packs, and I've liked things about every one of them, and I've disliked things about every one of them. So find a pack that fits your body well, and that can, give you access to all your gear really quick, and that you can feel comfortable with. Boots, sheesh, boots are the number one probably footwear. So make sure that you got a good pair of boots. I've made that mistake on a hunt. I'm not even going to say which hunt it was, but I did a real deep hunt where we ended up killing the animal 16 miles deep, and we were there for the week, and oh my gosh, my feet were just destroyed, and I don't think that they've healed yet to this day, So make sure you got boots that are going to do your feet well. And I could recommend some, but I won't, because your feet are different than my feet, and his feet are different than her feet, and what works for somebody doesn't work for somebody else, and vice versa.
Yeah, I got lucky, and I'm actually wearing them right now. The first pair of boots I got were just awful, but when I started buying some actual high quality hunting boots, I got really lucky with the pair I bought. They fit my feet perfectly and stuff like that, but it's such a personal thing.
It's so hard because so few of the retail stores carry the high-end boots, or a lot, a big variety of high-end boots. So you're getting such a small sampling, and to just order them online, like I got bad, you'd go onto Amazon and I'd order 3 or 4 pairs of boots, at one time, and figure out which ones worked, or if any of them, and then send them back. And fortunately, I don't have to do that now. I've got connections with the boot manufacturers now, luckily, but you just got to find something that works for you in different situations. And I might wear, I wore a boot last year. It's one from Under Armour, their Infill Ops. I wasn't particularly fond of a lot of their boots, but that boot just worked for me, on a lot of the hunts that I went on. And then there was a couple of hunts where that boot just didn't work, where I had to wear something a little bit beefier, So if you've got the ability to change it up, that's ideal. Wear a lightweight screamer that can make you be light and fast during the early season, and then beef it up as you go. Yeah. And then cater it to kind of the terrain. And if you can do that, that's great, but it's not always possible.
Now, I know this obviously varies a bunch from hunt to hunt, but what kind of, going in solo, what kind of pack weight do you tend to carry?
I don't know. It's as heavy as whatever my gear weighs. Whatever I need to take in, that's how much it weighs. I have no idea. I've never weighed my pack once.
Really?
I take that back. I was 13, and my friends and I were with my scout group. We were going on it's like a 7-mile pack trip, and we weighed our packs then, and my pack was like 33 pounds, and my friend's pack was 27 pounds. So, but since then, I've never weighed my pack because I don't care. It's the gear that's in my pack I need, and it's proven over years of experience that I need it. And it doesn't matter what it weighs. If I've got more weight around my waist and on my belly and on my shoulders and on my neck that I could lose, that is a lot more important than to pull weight out of my pack, So it is what it is. Like, you can try to lighten your load, but if it's something you need, you're only screwing yourself, really. So I honestly couldn't tell you. I mean, if I were to guess, I'd say my day running weight with all the camera gear and everything, somewhere between 25 to 45, depending on the hunt and the amount of what lenses I feel like carrying that day or that week. So I don't know, it varies.
Do you ever find that, I guess I know the answer, but find that all the setup and filming and stuff like that, has that added a lot of difficulty to your hunts?
It did early on. Like, it added a lot of weight and a lot of just hassle because I was trying to overcomplicate it. Now that I've simplified my system, I mean, I think it's funny. I've never really done a video of exactly what I use. Brian was talking to me about that and hammering me because we got all these questions, and I was looking at his camera equipment, and I'm like, dude, you're screwing yourself, man. There's way too much going on here. Simplify this crap. But it's like, once I was able to dial in my camera gear and what works, and not always chasing what the next newest, latest, greatest thing is and just settle on what works. And I've had the same camera setup now for 3 years. I mean, this next season will be filming into my 3rd year. Like once you get that figured out and you know that camera, you could run that camera with your eyes closed. That's what makes it easier. And then on the hunting side of it, sometimes it actually makes me more effective because I feel like I have to slow down and I want to try to document it as I go. And so that makes me slow way down and do that. And then other times you just have to realize when not to film, when hunting is more important to get into position. Let the dust settle, let the animal do their thing, and then all of a sudden you'll realize, hey, you know what? If I'm real careful, I can slide this tripod up and I can get the camera on this deer or elk or whatever it is, and mash the record button, and then whatever happens from there happens. And then you might realize, well, crap, that elk doesn't even know I'm here. Now I can reach up and grab the camera and actually pan and zoom and get some really neat footage here. And then next thing you know, you're focusing on being a cameraman, and then you're like, well, crap, I could kill this elk right here. So you let go and you kill it. And you're like, well, that worked. And then other times it doesn't, other times it just gets in the way. And so like I was telling Brian, we were looking at his footage and I'm like, sheesh, how long you been filming, man? I'm like, are you going to kill that deer? And he's like, no, I wasn't going to kill that deer. And I'm like, well, then film it. Be a cameraman. You got to have to kind of realize when it's a good time to film and when you're in hunt mode. And so if there's an animal there that I know I'm not going to kill, or I know that I can't kill, or he's not quite in the position where I can kill him, I'm going to film him just like I would if I was filming your hunt, and you were sitting there with the bow and I was your cameraman. Like, I want to film that clear until the time where he's all of a sudden where it's like, oh, okay, he's in my zone. Now it's time to reach over and grab the bow and do what I need to do, so. But it all comes with experience. I mean, I've botched so many hunts and botched so much film over the years that it's not even funny. For every successful hunt that you see on my show or on YouTube, there's that many unsuccessful ones or more.
So I know this is probably one everyone asks you, but for someone maybe like myself, I'm not looking to put out a TV show, but I'd maybe like some good photos or some good footage just to either throw up on YouTube or just to help me remember my hunts. Anything you'd recommend, like a good mini kit to start with?
Yep, smartphone, man. Good smartphone. So much. I mean, you can take such a killer photo and little video clips with a smartphone. It's just, I don't know. That's really all a guy needs if they're not trying to produce something. But if you're trying to put together little video clips and this and that, yeah, just a handy cam. Get a video camera. These DSLRs are really popular and everybody wants to run them, and you can have the ability to change lenses and all that. But there's a learning curve to that. So if you're just starting, just get an HD handy cam. I mean, Sony makes a pile of them. Canon makes a pile of them. Just anything that has decent video quality that's not going to really complicate things. But you kind of have to also have an end goal in mind of what you want to do with it. If you're just randomly taking pictures and shooting video, it makes it really hard to package something in the end. I've been there. So I don't know. Like I say, I have a tendency to really oversimplify things to the point where I honestly believe. In fact, I've got I haven't uploaded it yet. I've got it in my email to upload that. The majority of my elk pack out in this episode that I was going to put on Outdoor Channel and I didn't end up doing it is all filmed with my iPhone, and it was because the weather was so crappy that it jacked up my video camera, and I didn't want to ruin it anymore. And so I just filmed everything with my iPhone because it's replaceable, so That's what it was. And the audio sucked and the video was marginal, but hey, the story was still there. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's really what matters. I think people, if I'm watching a film, it's really easy to say, wow, that's a neat shot. He had that on a slider, or that's a cool jib shot, or that's a sweet rack focus, or look at that, it's amazing. But did it add to the story? Sometimes, and sometimes not. And I think sometimes people get caught up in trying to produce a film and not just document the adventure. And that's what I'm all about, is documenting what I'm doing and then trying to throw a little bit of cinematography into it.
No, that's definitely good. I'd rather watch a poorly shot film that has a good story and behind it than vice versa. So
yeah, it just depends on you. It's a good thing that there's so many different types of content out there, because there's so many different types of viewers and consumers, and I don't think I'm your typical consumer. So it's cool that there is so much of it out there. And at the end of the day, you've got to just produce what you want and what your goals are, and if you want to go the route of the cinematography and the producing and the setting up a shot and trying to get the wow factor for the shot and all that, then do that, But it's like I was talking to Brian, I'm like, are we producing films for other filmmakers or for those of us in the industry, or are we producing films for the majority of the people that are watching our films, And that was just gave us something to think about. Most people aren't going to notice that my lighting was off a little bit, or that my color was off a little bit.
You didn't white balance that shot. You're gonna need
that. Yeah, that white balance sucks, man. I mean, your exposure is way out there.
Just throw it out.
You were shooting in that frame rate. Golly.
Never mind the giant elk rack on your back.
Yeah, right. So, it's whatever you're after.
So, where can people watch the show?
So you can watch it on Outdoor Channel until Christmas. So we're on the Outdoor Channel from July through January, or through December, excuse me. And then after that, we'll be able to start trickling out the new episodes onto YouTube. Right now, all of the new episodes and bonus features and everything else are all on our website as part of the All Access platform. So they can watch it all there. Instagram is just Solo HNTR on Instagram. If you Google Solo Hunter, you'll find something somewhere. You'll land somewhere where you'll see what it's about and see if you're interested in it or not.
Tell me really quick about the all access package that gives you access to the shows, some additional content with the podcast as well, right?
Right. So with the Outdoor Channel, we're limited to contracts because of the cable providers and everything else. They hamstring the Outdoor Channel to when they can release the content. So we have all this new content, new episodes that are only being seen by traditional TV watchers. We can't upload those publicly to any digital platform via YouTube or Vimeo or anything else until a certain date. Within the contract, I was able to chisel out, the ability to do those on our website as long as it was locked down. So the membership package gives us the ability to not breach our contracts, but we can also release new and fresh content in a total packaged way. So the All Access is our complete digital video library, as well as a lot of bonus footage and things that haven't been seen on TV that aren't on YouTube. There's some films on there. So it's a complete and total viewing package of Solo Hunter. With that, there's also full access to the full-length podcasts that we're doing that we just launched, as well as, members of the All Access get 20% discount on all merchandise for the life of their membership. They get automatically entered into drawings. So we gave away a whitetail hunt last month. This month, we're giving away a new Prime Synergy bow. Next month, we got an awesome package that we're putting together with Joel, some artwork that he's doing of some bighorn sheep and some different things. So that's available to members only to give them the values. Like, okay, if I'm gonna write Burnett a $48 check, what do I get out of it besides just watching his videos that are eventually going to be on YouTube anyway? And that's what that does. It gives them a lot more opportunities, a lot more value.
That's awesome. So $48, is that annually?
$48 annually. Yep. And right now we're working on, Joel doesn't like the idea, but working on a welcome package. I did it when I did the beta testing. I had a welcome package, so I was including hats and shirts and different things. And then I kind of pulled that away because I wasn't able to keep up with the inventory on it fast enough during hunting season. So I was like, okay, I better stop that. And so we lowered the price and pulled out the welcome package. And now, we're at the point, after the first of the year, we'll keep the price where it is and include in that a hat and some other items to really bolster the welcome package. Because it's, like I say, it's not necessarily a platform that I'm looking at making a ton of money on. It's just something that gives us the ability to get the content out there. And then also, as YouTube ad rates and revenue dropped and tanked, and as sponsorships change and different things, it's like, okay, yeah, it is a little bit of a revenue stream as well. But you know what? That's business. If a guy can figure out how to package his content that is in demand and have the ability to continue to do that and not have to go get a day job, I'm all about it, man. And there's been some negativity to it of why are you doing this? I'm like, well, then wait a year, wait 6 months, because by the time those episodes hit the air, those hunts are 2 years old. So it's up to it just is what it is, Get things a lot more live and a lot more current with the all access. And if you're a fan of Solo Hunter, I mean, most guys are spending hundreds of dollars on purchasing merchandise off the store. Like $48 is not. I spend a lot more money than that for entertainment that I consume. Let's put it that way.
For sure. I'll make sure to throw up a link to all of that stuff on our show notes page. That's going to be livingcountryinthecity.com/47. Before we finish up, I always like to end with maybe just any advice or inspiration. If someone came to you and said, hey, I want to get into hunting. I've never done it before. Maybe someone that lives in the city that just doesn't have access to these resources, and they're feeling a little bit intimidated by getting into hunting. What would you say to that person?
My advice would be to purge your sources. So go through your friends list and everybody that you know personally, that have a personal relationship with, anybody that has or has ever hunted before, and I'd get with them and talk with them personally. And then from there, once you've exhausted all those resources, then go to ask them if they have any friends, the referral system, and kind of move that way. The more you can do at grassroots and on a personal level, the more response and the better advice that you're going to get. After that, once you've exhausted all that and there's just nobody in your circles, or you're just not getting what you want, then I guess that's when you reach out to social, and anybody that you've had interaction with on social media or whatever that has seemed to be a little outgoing or receptive, you kind of hit them up a little bit, and maybe you collaborate and you say, hey, let's go on a hunt together. I can bring the food and you can do this or whatever, and do that. You can go to your local archery shops or local sporting goods stores. Those are, the local archery shops or small shops would be awesome, because those people have more of a willingness, I guess, to open up than your big box stores do. And just basically you have to try to find someone that is willing to communicate that information to you. And you have to do your own research too. Get online and look at the states, learn the hunting regulations, learn the hunting units, and see the numbers, and then, put in for some hunts, whether it's over the counter or draw hunts, and go do it. But you have to take the initiative. There's, aside from a father figure or a family friend, it's really difficult for people to take time out of their day to hold someone's hand and show them the ropes. There are people that have done that. There was, a person that did that for me early on, but those people are fewer and farther between these days, I think, just because his life is so busy. So you just got to keep pushing, and if need be, and it's all on your shoulders, you got to have the mentality that it's like, okay, I'm going to make this happen, whether it's on my shoulders or not. And then eventually you're gonna have a group of friends to hunt together and have experiences. And next thing you know, it's 10 years later and you've killed 3 or 4 elk, and life is good. But nothing comes overnight without somebody being able to help you out, early on.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for hopping on the show with me today. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
You bet. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, y'all. That'll do it for episode 47 of Living Country in the City. Y'all can find links to check out all of Tim's stuff on our show notes page at livingcountryinthecity.com/47. Also, make sure to subscribe to the Solo Hunter podcast. There's some really great content on there. Now, don't forget to check out the support page on livingcountryinthecity.com. Take a moment, see if there's something y'all could do to contribute. But in the meantime, keep it country, y'all.
Thank y'all for listening to Living Country in the City. Get show notes and check out the blog, product reviews, events, and more at livingcountryinthecity.com.